Hello, everyone, and welcome to A New Direction. My name's Jay Izzo, and oh man, do we have another great show for you today. I got to tell you something. Fun book, great author, just powerful, practical book. The book's called Congrats, You've Been Promoted. Noel Massie is the author of the book. You know him. You're going, I know that name. Yeah, you do. We'll talk. I'll give you an introduction to him in a second. Folks, here's the thing. And I'll probably talk about this, Noel, at some point in the show. But, you know, I know that some of you are out there and you go, golly, I'm just waiting for that promotion, get up into the level and be a supervisor, be a manager, to get my leadership chops in. And then what happens to the majority of us, whoever had this happens to, right? What happens is we get that promotion. And then our ego gets in the way, right? We think, oh, I'm the boss now, man. I'm the boss. I can tell people what to do now, right? Well, you may think so, but here's the thing: is you're being evaluated, and you go, well, yeah, the people up front. No. You know who your evaluations are coming from? The people that you're leading. And if you don't have them on your team, you ain't leading. I'm just going to say, plain old country boy Jay, you ain't leading. Okay? That's as simple as I can make it. And so Noel Massie has come along with this book. Congrats, you've been promoted, to help us get it right. And I'm telling you, the practical information and his life and how he has taken the lessons from his life and his series of promotion after promotion and the mentors that he's had over the course of time, whether it was from the boxing ring as a kid to leaders that he's met along the way that gave him sound advice. And here's the difference, folks. You want to go to lead? This is the difference between so many leaders and Noel Massie. Noel Massie listened, and then he applied it. You with me? He listened and then applied it. A lot of us will listen, but you know what we do? We don't take action on it. That's what this book is about. This book is about a man with so much wisdom and so much knowledge and so much experience and so much success, has laid it out in the book for you to go, if you'll not just listen and read it, but if you will apply it, you will be a successful leader where you're at. That's this book. That's this book. So I got to introduce you to Noel Massie, who's going to be a good friend of mine. I mean, I'd like to think of him as a friend already, even though we really just met. But I love him already. Noel Massie began working for UPS part-time during college and rose through the ranks. By the way, he was studying to be an engineer. Okay, and not only that, he had another science major he was doing until a guy, he was from Russia, who had a rough accent, told him, you need to be a communications major. Work on your language, by the way. Yeah. Noel's nodding his head. He goes, I can't believe you read that. No, I did. No, I read that. He rose through the ranks to become vice president for UPS's U.S. deliveries operation. Before his retirement in 2019, he oversaw 200,000 employees who were led by 12,000 supervisors. In this role, Noel supported and guided the package delivery and logistics services in the U.S. He continues to mentor young leaders and supervisors today. He's currently a member of numerous boards, Annenberg Foundation, which holds $1.7 billion endowments, where Noel serves on their investment committee, Los Angeles Urban League's Executives Committee. He's chaired that for 9 years, Chapter 1 U.S., Asian American and Pacific Islander Legal Center. He's received over a dozen awards, including the Peter Drucker School of Management Leadership Award, the Whitney M. Young Award, the Admiral Samuel L. Gravely Award. I could go on and on and on, but it's a bunch. He currently mentors young leaders at private organizations on values-based leadership principles. And his family, is this still true that you reside in Oak Park, Illinois, Noel?
That is correct, yes.
Yeah. And he has a second residence in Southern Cal as well.
Where I am now.
That's where he is right now. And he joins us on the show. So, ladies and gentlemen, Please welcome to the show. Welcome to the first time, and I hope not the last time. Noel Massie, welcome to A New Direction.
Hey, Jay, thanks for having me. I really look forward to our conversation. And thanks for that gracious introduction. I think I'm going to hire you to introduce me wherever I go. Anyway.
I am available, by the way. I'm available, Noel, just to let you know. Yeah, my price isn't too high either. I'm pretty cheap, so
I love it.
I'm available. So if you need that, just let me know.
It's awesome. So, and I also love, before we get into what we're going to talk about, I also love the Coach J. I love that. Let me land the plane on why.
Okay.
Because leadership is coaching.
Yeah.
Leadership is coaching. Leadership, when you accept the role as a leader, you say, I'm willing to develop and coach this group of people. That's what I'm willing to do. So leadership is coaching. So I love Jay at thecoachj.com. I love, when I first saw it, I was like, oh, yeah, I'm being invited on this. I love it. I love this. Right. And so I appreciate the opportunity to spend some time with you, Jay. I really do. Your enthusiasm is infectious. And I love that. Life needs to be about enthusiastic approaches to things. And because you're just going to do it better when you're enthusiastic. I mean, it just makes sense, right? So I love that as well. So I look forward to this. Thank you.
Me too. I really do. And thank you for that as well. Coach so many executives and leaders like you do, and businesses and things that I do. And you're right. You're so right in every aspect of the book, and we should dig into it because I could go on and lavish you with all sorts of things about you. Here's the thing you said, and that you talk about the problem with most leadership books in the introduction. I know very rarely does anybody talk about the introduction, but I'm going to talk about the introduction for a second. You said the problem I have found with most books on leadership today is that they typically focus on developing high-level organizational dynamics for CEOs and presidents. I rarely see books on basic leadership principles for the leader who's newly promoted. Why do you think that is? And help people understand, the audience that you're really talking to and why they're so important to the organization.
So I bought a lot of books on leadership in my career. As a matter of fact, a favorite practice of mine was to buy a book, to find a book I liked, and to buy 300-400 copies of that thing. When I was a business unit president, those units go today 25,000, 30,000 people. You have 1,200-1,300 leaders under you, type of thing. And I'd buy a book. David Cottrell was one of my favorite authors because his books were simple. And my actually writing style, I patterned very similarly off David because his books were simple. They were not complicated, and they focused on the frontline individual as well. So in any event, that being said, we read the book together as a group, managers. We'd have at the time, we didn't have Zoom back in the day. That's within the last decade or so. But in any event, I've been doing it longer than a decade. So in any event, when we had Zoom, I'd do it on Zoom. I'd pick a manager, say, pick 3 or 4 pages you want to talk about, and they would do that. And they would lead the discussion. And that would be a development moment. But the point is that when I would look for leadership books, if they had charts and diagrams and pyramids, and there's no pyramid on the docs. Okay. when there's a forklift driver saying, and you're the leader, Jay, and you go, hey, Sam. Yeah. Yes, Jay. You need to get on fork number 12 today, because you're unloading, position number 52, door 52. And he goes, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing, no. Get Larry to do it. Okay. In that moment, you need to know how to do that. Okay. And there's no chart, there's no pyramid, and the books that go developing high performing teams and blah, 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 blah. Listen, I'm not saying those things don't have an application, but they don't really have one in the way that you need it when you're a newly promoted person and you're dealing with Sam, who says, hey, my check is wrong, and it's been wrong 3 times, and this is not okay. And you've been in the job for 2 days. Okay. And this guy is like 53 and you're 27. And he's clubbing you in front of 9 people that work for you now. You need to know how to handle that. And my book was really about, we're in a professional, because being professional is skill most important skill number one at all times. But in any event, that's another. But I wanted to write a book that would help that young person be able to handle that moment and be successful in that moment with a win-win, with a positive outcome, not a threat, not the typical stress level goes up and threats start to, no, it's all wrong, right? And I lived it. So, I understand the importance of someone saying that. And you don't see books out there that go there. You just don't.
You're right. Listen, this is what 370 shows and books that I've interviewed. You're right. I'm just telling you, right? I had a lot of leadership books. This is the first for me. This is why I enjoyed it so much. I want to jump into chapter 1, which is entitled "Understanding Your Own and Your Team's Terms and Conditions." This chapter alone, if you wrote no other chapter, I felt that this chapter stood on its own, and you could write an entire book about this. Let's talk about that.
Sure.
Because you say when you hire an employee, you're buying their time and energy. And in other words, you made a purchase, and with that came their terms and conditions.
That's right.
Help us understand the importance of the terms and conditions, because I know that my first leadership position, I never thought about the terms and conditions of the employees.
Right.
My first time when I was young, right? Help us understand it.
You approached it like anyone, right? Neither did I. When I was given my first leadership position, I didn't think about it in those terms either. But the fact of the matter is that if you sit down with a person and you say, "Tell me the most important things you expect in a relationship," any relation, what do you expect in a relationship? I mean, in order for you to maintain that relationship, what cannot happen in it, right? And they'll say,
right.
"Well, you can't be yelling at me. Okay? You can't be disrespecting me.
Right.
Probably lying to me is a bad idea." They're gonna give you anyone. And I said, "Jay, make a list. You're gonna write down. It's predictable."
Right.
When I teach seminars, it's always the same story. Everyone knows what their terms and conditions are. These are the red lines for me. And what I want the new leader to understand is when you get a team, you need to realize they have terms and conditions. And you know what? If you don't live up to those with those individuals, they will not do great work for you. Okay. That the only thing with terms and conditions isn't an app you buy online, or isn't a refrigerator that you get, or isn't an electronic device where go to the terms and conditions of the warranty or blah, blah, blah. Well, people have warranties. Okay. And if you violate them, you know what? They won't live up to the agreement. They won't perform the way you hired them. Okay. You hired them to do work. Okay. But with that comes an agreement that you must live up to, not them. Okay. They need to live up to giving you sweat, being on time, and having an open mind to learn. Okay. Everything else is on you, right? Are you going to train them effectively? Are you going to treat them? They don't sell you their dignity. People don't sell you their dignity. They don't. Okay. And I tell a story in the book, and you read it, where I was at a Southwest counter. We missed the flight. We were all excited. My kids are like yelling. My two sons are like, Dad, and my wife's like, and we thought we were going to make it, and we don't make it. And I'm at the counter doing what people do, going, how could you give our seats away? Okay. And then the woman behind the counter, she just quit. She just said, "Okay, I resign. I'm not helping you now." Right. Because that was rational. And when people are treated in a way that disrespects them, you know what? It's rational for them, A, not to do good work, number one. B, to care less about you and your company. Okay. And then C, ultimately, if it doesn't stop, they're going to quit because you violated their terms and conditions. So I want not just the new leader, but the owners of companies to understand when that person walks through the door, you are accepting that little box that says accept the terms and conditions of this agreement. You're checking it off.
Right.
You're checking it off. Okay. And if you don't adhere to them, then you'll lose people. They'll walk out the door on you. And high turnover organizations, you know what? They win as many ball games as the Cleveland Browns. Okay. Okay, that's what happens. Okay. When you keep losing people all the time, okay, you're not going to the Super Bowl like the Patriots, okay, or the Seahawks. Okay, you're going to keep losing games, right? So retaining your talent means you understand that people have terms and conditions, and you sit down with them, and I go, Jay, you know, I'm your new supervisor. I'm really happy to be working with you. You know, tell me, Jay, you know, what's super important to you? You know, what are the things that you want from me as your leader? Because Jay, understand something. I'm your coach. Okay. That's my job. Okay.
Right.
I'm going to coach you. Okay. I'm going to develop you. I'm going to give you feedback, all kinds of things. But what's important to you, Jay?
Yeah.
And that's how you start setting the terms and conditions on the front end. And it's really important.
You know, you said something so important there, and I don't want the listener and the viewer, by the way, thanks everybody for watching and listening. I don't want them to miss this, is that, and you're going to talk about this in the book, that one-to-one session about where you're learning about their terms and conditions is so imperative, but often missed. Why do you think we miss that one-on-one, face-to-face, belly-to-belly, really understanding that? Why do you think we miss that so frequently?
There's a number of reasons that actually happens, that are legitimate reasons. They're not excuses. You know, people that use excuses do it because they need them. Okay.
Right.
Right. Okay, but there are legitimate reasons that when people, there's a job open to be something, and you have your hand up and you go, pick me for this promotion, pick me for this job, and no one really sits down with you in the beginning like they didn't with me, and I talk about this a little bit as well in the book, and they don't go, listen, Noel, this is not a promotion, it's accepting a responsibility. They don't do that. And so if you heard that in the initial promotion, it would make you think differently.
Yes, sir.
And so mentorship is why I talk about it, right? I talk about being in a position where you get mentorship because that gives you informal guidance, right? It's not stinging guidance. It's like helpful guidance. Get mentorship. And because a mentor may say, hey, tell me something about your people. You go, I don't know anything about my people. Well, why don't you know something about your people? Because you don't care enough to know something about, right? And then it starts leading you to things, is my point. But the reason it doesn't happen, that's one reason, okay? I just gave a reason, because people don't understand the importance of it. I don't want to approach it and say, people know it's really important, Jay, but they don't do it. No, people don't understand the importance of it.
Yeah.
Then the other thing, and that's experience, right? That's the difference between, you know, where I am in my life and career and leadership journey and somebody that's new, right? It matters. That experience matters. But in any event, that's one reason. The second reason, and this is the worst reason, ego. I'm the boss. You said this when we in the introduction. I'm the boss. I got promoted. I must be smart. I must be great. I mean, it might be I'm become a manager. Forget entry level. I was entry level. Now I'm a manager. Okay. And my ego is out of control. And I've seen a lot of egos get bigger and bigger as promotions went on. And ultimately there's a casualty somewhere.
Yep.
The ego, people with egos, they can have success, but they will also leave collateral damage. And some point, like the CEO of Uber who got fired. At some point, it'll catch up to him. The CEO of Papa John's founded the company. He got fired. The board said, okay, great. Thank you for founding Papa John's. You know what? But you're getting out. You're out. Okay. Thank you for founding Uber. But you know what? You're leaving. Okay. You're too unprofessional. You're out. So the point I'm making is sometimes it's because ego is a problem.
Yeah, I agree. I think it could be, listen, I was 14 years old when on the farm and I got my first promotion, right? I was leading a detasseling crew. I didn't know what I was doing, trying to lead, you know, other kids, some of them older than me, right? And here I was trying to lead. I wasn't given any instructions. I was just told that you're responsible to make sure that all the tassels are pulled from the corn. That's what I was told.
Right. Sure.
That's all I was told, right? I didn't know what it really took to do that at 14, and I messed it up. I messed up a number of opportunities because I didn't have any direction and I didn't understand it, but my ego was in the way too.
Sure. Yeah.
Right. I got a boost in my salary and I'm told this is my title.
Yep.
And, you know, I was like any other human being at 14. who gets a title thought I was pretty big stuff, you know?
The fact that you got one at 14 was pretty big stuff. I'm just
Yeah, it may have been, but it was not. I wasn't good at it. No, I was horrible.
Yeah, but they thought you were going to be the best at it because obviously whoever else was in the docket, they felt like, no, we're going with this 14-year-old kid. Okay, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
that's what they did on the farm.
It is a compliment.
Yeah, it may have been, but boy,
Right.
rough. Let me just say this to the listener. Here's a beautiful thing that Noel does with this book. At the end of each chapter, he has exercises for you to do. And what I find really, really valuable in this is when you're reading this book, and I really encourage you to really pick up this book, available Kindle, hardback. I have both editions. It's in my library. And I have to tell you, do the exercises. I found myself doing these exercises, really, really important, really makes you think, and really, really will set you on your way. So I just want to make sure that you guys know about these exercises in the book. You say something here in this chapter too, that you're always being evaluated. And you borrow something from Malcolm Gladwell's book, Blink.
Yeah.
And he talks about, he calls it thin slicing.
Yep.
Example, when you talk about this, when you see an approaching dog and it's snarling at you, you recognize the danger in an instant. And you react, no deep thinking required. And it's an impression that's made and it sticks with you every time. Talk about how this happens between you as a newly appointed supervisor manager and your employee having those blink moments. How does that happen?
Yeah, so you're touching upon something that as individual human beings, we have programmed thoughts, feelings, etc. And those for the most part are good. They help us avoid calamity, danger, unsafe situations. They just do. Someone's running down the street and they have a knife in their hand and they happen to be running towards you, right? That's dangerous. I better leave. You don't wait for them to get 10 feet away. Okay. You see them you see them a block away. You're like, okay, I'm going the other way. My point is, you didn't have to contemplate and assess it and evaluate. You see, you react, right? I mean, and that's serious stuff, that I'm making light of it, but it's real. And it's even more real when you're a leader. When you're a leader and you show up day one and you have 9 people, let me tell you something, okay? They are evaluating every single thing you say, do, and behave. They're going to know where you park. They're going to know who you talk to the most. They're going to watch all your actions, and there's no consequence that's not evaluated, period. Right. And so I say in the book to the leader, you're always being evaluated, right? There's no casual moments in leadership. They're not. And you're fooling yourself if you think they are, even in the beginning of your career. You don't need to be the CEO, right? When you're walking down the street and one of your employees sees you and they're with their family or their friends, they go, that's my supervisor. What a jerk. Okay. That's my supervisor. What a heck of a person. Okay. Understand there's no neutrality. There's no such thing as neutrality. And recently there was this big to do about this couple that was seen at a Coldplay concert, right?
Oh, yeah.
Hey, their lives. Hello? It was 16 seconds.
Yeah.
They were on a kiss cam.
Yeah.
The CEO of the company and the human resource director, 16 seconds ended the careers they had. They're over. You're always being about, there's no casual moments. You can be in a park on the weekend. Your people know you're their leader. You're their super. And that's just what you accept. When you raise your hand and say, pick me, you're saying, pick me to always be evaluated. Pick me because I can stand the test of that. Pick me to be that person. And I want the new leader to get that. And then in a more intimate way, when they're in the workplace and they have their team, everything they say is what the team will evaluate them on. Okay. And they're really going to be keen on, does that leader have the values I talk about in the first part of the book? Integrity, ethics. You have to intentionally make sure your team understands these things matter, right? We're not implying we're going to have integrity. Okay. What's important in our group is everything's above board. We're always hands on the table. Nobody with their hands on the table. Hands on the table, above board. If you think something's not right, I want to know about it, but don't do it. Okay. But those things, the new leader will have far more success on the front end in the first week if they set those terms and conditions with the team, for sure. And then the evaluation holds the leader accountable, them accountable. Everyone knows, because we're not afraid of it. We're not afraid. We understand we're always being evaluated.
His name is Noel Massie. The book is entitled Congrats, You've Been Promoted. Fabulous book. And he's amazing, right? I mean, I could just sit here and ignore doing my commercials, which I've got to go do next. You're listening to him here on A New Direction. Hey, folks, we all know that buying and selling a home isn't just a transaction. It's a major life transition. And whether you're buying your first home, making room for a new baby, or downsizing for retirement, whatever, somewhere in between, it can be incredibly stressful. That's why you need the Linda Craft team realtors. For over 40 years, Linda has been helping people in the community navigate these big life changes. Her team doesn't just sell houses, they take the stress out of the process so you can focus on your future. So don't go it alone. Let 40 plus years of experience work for you. Visit lindacraft.com. It's LINDACRAFT.com. And we're back here on A New Direction with Noel Massie. His book, Congrats, You've Been Promoted. Yeah, it sounds great, right? Until then all of a sudden you have to recognize the responsibility. I want to get to chapter 2 here, and it's entitled A Fair Exchange. You say what is fair to an individual or group is all about perspective. Talk about that a little bit.
Fairness is something we learn early in our. It's one of the most basic things we learn as children early in our lives. And we actually start learning it from birth. And phrases like "to be fair," that's not fair. Play fair. Those things go to how we actually feel about fairness, right? And the fact of the matter is that when a person feels that they have been treated unfairly, there's a responsibility for the leader to be aware of that. And the leader can be aware of it if they want to be, at the end of the day, by making sure that they are clear that we will have a fair environment, right? We don't have favorites. And I said that as a supervisor as a manager, actually, back in the 80s, to a group of like 50 service providers, drivers, we call them service providers. And I was taking over this operation, and I said, so, I'm happy to be your new manager, et cetera, and as I was setting the terms and conditions, true story, the first thing I talked about was integrity and ethics. What you can always expect from me are these two things. And I said, and understand, there will be no favorites. Okay. There will be no favorites. Okay. Everybody makes the same wages. Everybody's doing the same job. And at the time back then in the 80s, I said, everybody has the same gig. Everyone's doing the same job. I said, this is how we eat. We all eat out of the same pot. Okay. This is how we make a living. This is how we pay the rent. Okay. This is not a social experiment. I said this to this group of drivers. I said, but at the end of the day, there will be fairness. And I had a group of drivers, after I made this introductory statement, like 5 of them got in a group, and they were all the junior guys, right? They were all the least senior guys. And they came over and got in a group, and they came over and cornered me and said, you mean that? Are things going to be fair around here? Because they're really not fair, and this is wrong, and we always get dumped on, and because we're the new guys and blah, 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 blah. And I was like, hey, let me tell you something. What I said in the group is real. I mean that. I said, you will never be my favorites, but neither will they be. Everyone is pulling the same rope, and everyone's going to get the same training, development, fair, work. And actually, it was a really big moment, because I ended up getting on the vehicle with the first 5 drivers that I rode with. And I did this immediately. It was setting the terms and conditions in a serious way with these employees. And the union rep was acknowledged that what these guys were saying was accurate in his mind, right? Because he had to be like me. He had 50 employees who all came to him griping about stuff, right? So he couldn't lean, because the guy had 30 years. He couldn't ignore the 3-year guy. He just couldn't do that, okay? And so he and I understood, very clearly that fairness was going to need to be really amplified and important in the group. And that's what happened, bottom line. So I made it very, very important to talk about it openly and to make sure that people knew that there wouldn't be favorites. I didn't say everyone's going to be treated fairly. What I said is there wouldn't be favorites. And there weren't. And words matter. And how people hear something is important because they're going to decide what fairness looks like. You decide what's fair in your mind. They're going to, but here's what people in the workplace really look at probably more than anything else is who are the favorites, right? And I also tell this one story in the book about this one driver who said, hey, well, I'm not going to be kissing his ass in order to get what I want, right? And I just sat there and listened to this guy because it wasn't my meeting. I was listening. And when he left, I asked the manager, I said, well, okay, so he feels that he's being treated unfairly. You know what? He's right. He's right because he feels that way. And if he's and at the end of the day, it's your responsibility to make sure that how he's feeling, that you can justify making sure that he understands we're going to change that. Okay. And that worked out. But fairness is if you don't articulate to your team members that your environment will be a fair environment, and when you think it's an unfair circumstance, they haven't the ability to come sit down with Coach Jay or Noel and just have the conversation, then you're not going to get great work from people that feel like they have been treated unfairly. At the end of the day, it lands there. They're not going to support you as their leader. They will not.
Beautiful. I'm going to jump to chapter 4 because this is a really important. Well, it's all important, but this one just stood out to me so greatly because I'm such a fan of it. Listening. Its title is called "Listening: A Skill or a Value," and I think you were arguing it's both. Is right. What you were arguing here. I talk about because you're famous for this. I mean, even when I read Derek Waters' forward, you're famous for this. Stop, pause, listen, and valuing the speaker. Talk about it in terms of stop, pause, and listening and the empathetic listening process altogether.
The most difficult thing that happens in the fast world of business, retail, transportation, supply chain, a hospital, I don't care, is there's like a million moving parts. There just are. That's real. Okay. And for anyone to say that they always listen to what's said to them, they're lying. They may hear what's said to them, but for anyone to say that, oh no, I take it all in. Every time someone's talking to me, I listen to their emotion behind their words and I'm like attentive. I can repeat what they said back to them. They're lying. Okay. So the point is to understand that there are moments that will show up for you as a leader where you need to understand that you better stop, you better pause, and you better listen. And you better put the phone down, and you need to block out all the outside noise to the point where if you need to move the person out of the environment, do that. Because it could be that moment that saves someone's life or saves someone's job or save it or your job. Okay. It could be a moment that is defining. And the problem with the most critical pieces of information employees want to give to their leader is that they don't walk up and go, this is DEFCON 4. This is a DEFCON 4. Okay, hey, Jay, I need to talk to you, but I'm at DEFCON 1. And you go, well, okay, we'll get to that later. No, this is a DEFCON 4. They're not going to tell you it's a DEFCON 4. They're not, okay? And depending on the person. And so it is important when people come to you that you feel what they're trying to say. You know, it's really important that you're looking in the eye and they go, hey, Jay, you have a moment? If I say, hey, Jay, you have a moment, okay, that doesn't sound like, hey, Jay, you got a couple minutes. Okay, there's a difference, right?
Yeah.
You know, there's a difference. And so I want the new leader to understand that we listen to people we value. Because in every workplace, this person exists. I'm going to just be clear, that annoying person. Every leader has one person in their group that annoys them. They do. They have one person in the group that annoys them. They always are in their ear. They're always complaining. They always want to know what's going on. Like a fly buzzing around your head. Every leader has that person. Okay. But one day that person is going to be trying to tell you something you need to know.
Mm.
Okay. And what happens though is you don't value that person. So then when they're speaking to you, you don't value what they have to say. And that happened to a manager. I tell the story in the book, and it was bad. And it was bad. And he knew it was bad. And he knew it was that the reason it got bad is because he didn't listen to what this young employee, this female employee, was trying to say to him. Okay. And it turned into a big, giant nuclear mushroom cloud, right? And he could have stopped it at firecracker level, right? And so that's the reason I put that in, because I never saw in my career leaders lose their positions because they couldn't get a widget in a hole fast enough or something. 99.9% of the time, it was value-based. It was value-based. There was an integrity issue, an ethical issue. It was value-based. And I saw some really good leaders lose their jobs because they didn't listen to an employee. And it became a legal issue, right? And attorneys started showing up. And, well, did you tell, the Mike about blah, blah, blah? Well, yeah, I told Mike. Okay, did Mike respond? No, Mike didn't. And Mike ended up getting demoted or fired, okay?
Yeah.
Because the organization ended up paying $500,000 for something. And so in all aspects, as a professional, you have to value everyone we gave you the responsibility to lead. And when they come to talk to you, you need to stop. You need to pause and put the phone down, tell people, excuse me for a minute, and you need to look that person in the eye and say, what you got?
Yeah. That's so
I'm
beautiful.
I'm here for you. Yep.
I think this leads into chapter 6, really segues really well into trust. And there's something I think people are, we talk about the general thing, but it's one particular aspect of this. Gaining the trust of the disgruntled, bitter, or anti-establishment employee. Help us, dear Noel, help us do that.
So I talk about how with other values, you can establish a foundation for those right up front, okay? Trust doesn't work like that. Trust is an outgrowth of many actions over time that are demonstrated by the leader, that the leader has integrity, the leader's ethical, the leader doesn't have favorites, the leader makes sure that they have intentional conversations with the team. And so trust is about a leader who keeps their word consistently, right? And doesn't violate their word consistently. And so if your actions with me have always been forthright, and I am saying, hey, Jay, I got this. I made an error. You have my word. I'm on this. Okay. That's how trust is developed. And it's really important that the phrase, I'll keep my word, is used. You know what's interesting to me is how afraid people are of that phrase and how I used it as a just like breathing, right? When I would talk to employees, that was a part of the conversation whenever things were serious, and especially if I'm in a stop, pause, and listen moment. Okay, I'm like, hey, Noel, blah blah blah. I heard this. Can you give me an answer? Can you follow up on that for me? And from the time I was a supervisor, forget when I became a president, it's like, absolutely. Hey, Jay, you have my word. I'll get back to you on that by Friday. Consistency matters. Keeping your word is what builds trust, not a workshop. Okay. People go to these build the trust workshop, and I go, okay, let me run one of those. Okay. It'll be 10 minutes. All right. I'll have integrity. Tell you people, well, I'll always have integrity in your dealings with me. I'll demonstrate it to you. You'll never find me doing anything unethically with you, around you, or for you. I'll be fair to you. If I'm not, come tell me I'm not fair. I just want to know it. Don't let it fester. And I'm going to keep my word. All right. That's how you build and develop trust with a team, right? You say those value-based things, but then you do them, right? And then over time, your team will say, yeah, you trust Jay? Absolutely. Because trust, if you were hire someone, and I don't know if you have children or not, but I know we do. My wife and I have 2 boys. When they were young, okay, and you got to hire someone so you get a night out, okay, that first day, you don't trust them yet.
You're right. You are so right.
You don't trust them yet, okay? But then when they're good and they're taking care of your kids, and they only have a few bases knocked over when you get home, because that's okay, right? You go, oh yeah, okay. The house will still be standing when we get back, okay? Because we really need to get away from these kids for a few minutes. That's how you build trust, right? It's over time, and a leader who understands the consistency necessary with a team on the value-based terms and conditions. That's how you build trust. But you don't get to have it immediately day one. Okay. But you also don't get to have distrust necessarily. The last guy might have been responsible for that. Okay. So you need to make sure, if you take over a team that's disgruntled and there's been a trust issue, that's real. You don't get to wipe that away because you're the new boss day one. Okay. The fact of the matter is the way you move forward with that team, and you're the new leader, is you state clearly the things you heard me articulate about here's how life's going to be. And I've lived that. As a matter of fact, I had a group I took over as a manager, and it was awful. They had distrust issues to beat the band. Okay. My answer to that test was to articulate, and I had great mentors. Now understand, I didn't think this stuff up on my own. I had great mentors in my 20s and 30s. I really did. And so my ideology around leadership comes from a combination of a lot of people. And so I said to this group, okay, here's how things will look. And I developed a trusting relationship to the point, Jay, that when I got promoted to the next level manager, and I was a manager, I had responsibility for a delivery operation, blah, blah, blah. And I got promoted to become a mid-level division manager when I was 30. The employees that had the trust issues that I led for like a year, when I left that operation, out of their own pocket, they bought a plaque out of their own pocket. It's the most honorable thing I've ever been given in my career. And you talked about the awards I've been given. Those pale in comparison to the one that those employees, they were drivers, and they took a picture of themselves against a package car, kneeling down. It's actually on my website. And it said to Noel Massie, thank you for helping us remember the bottom line, that UPS means service, right? They gave that out of their own pocket, right? And they gave me that because I kept my word to them. And that's how you build trust. Yeah.
Beautiful. His name is Noel Massie. The book's entitled, Congrats, You've Been Promoted. You're listening to him here on A New Direction. Hey, if you're planning a move, or you're planning to sell or buy a house, you got to check out lindacraft.com. Honestly, it's much more than a real estate website that has home listings. Here's the thing. Linda understood years ago that moving impacts your whole family, including your kids and your pets. That's why her website features an exclusive advice from a child psychologist on how to help kids adjust to a move. There's even tips from a veterinarian on how to move with pests. It is a complete emotional resource for your family, not just selling homes. So see the difference for yourself. Log on today, lindacraft.com, lindacraft.com. And we're back here on A New Direction with my friend. Yeah, I called him friend because we've only met and known each other for about 45 minutes. But he really is a friend. Noel Massie, his book, Congrats, You've Been Promoted. So good. I mean, you're listening to him. You can tell why he's so amazing. No, I'm going to jump way ahead in this book because there is a couple things I want to talk about, and it's called the BEST, or the BEST principle. And you talk about that. Your role as leader is to make people better, and you either make them better or you discourage them. There's no third option. And talk about be clear, expect the best, stick to the objective, and test commitment. Talk about the BEST principle.
Thanks for that, Jay. I think of everything in the book on the tactical side, right? So the book's 2 parts. Part 1 of the book, I want the leader or the business owner promoting leaders to understand the value equation has to be first, right?
Mm.
Those terms and conditions must precede any other conversation. We need to have congruence that we will articulate values to our team. If we want that to matter, we have to do it. Part 2 of the book is tactical, right? Okay, so how do you get through the challenges of the day-to-day turbulence that happens in the life of a leader? Because there's turbulence, that's just part of what happens. It's like a pilot in a plane. You don't get to fly without turbulence. It just doesn't happen. Okay, you got to know how to handle it, right? So part 2 of the book is about how do you deal with turbulence, okay? And the best principle is an important foundational component of all things training, conversations, performance reviews, you name it. Any discussion with an employee, the best principle will help you navigate that discussion better. Period. Okay. Any conversation. I don't care if you're training them how to drive a forklift, you're doing a performance review, the employee has a paycheck problem. It doesn't matter. The best principle is a frame. And that's what I want to make sure I'm clear. The best principle, think about a picture. You have a frame to put the picture in. I mean, no one would go buy a beautiful painting and lay it on the floor, right? Well, some people might, but no one would do that, right? You buy this beautiful picture. You need a frame to hang it in, to put it on the wall. Well, the best principle is a frame. Okay, the other techniques in the book, the 7 steps of effective training is a technique that's in the book. The 4x5 method is a technique that's in the book. Delivering daily messages to your team is a technique that's in the book. Those all sit inside of the best principle. What does the best principle stand for? That in any conversation you have in engagement with an employee, be clear, be concise. What does it mean? Don't ramble, okay? One of the worst things that my young mentees do, and I rid them of this when they talk to me, is they don't get to use fillers. They can't talk to me in a mentoring conversation. So how was last week, Jay? And well, no, like I had Joe tell me no, you have to talk to me, and the word is forbidden, right? Be specific, be clear, right? Be concise. Jay, we're here to train you today on how to drive a forklift. That's why we're here. Okay. Expect the best. Hey, Jay, I really know you've waited a long time for this opportunity. So I am confident you will pay attention and apply yourself to every aspect of training. And if there's any question, there's no question. Ask me the question. Okay. So if you don't understand something, I want to know it immediately. That expect the best. Articulate it. Say, Jay, I really know you want X, Y, or Z. So that is building up Jay's confidence that I have his best interest in heart and in my hands. I want to bring Jay with me emotionally. Expect the best. Stick to the objective. We are going to learn steps 1 through 6 before we learn steps 7 through 10. Okay. And so, Jay, as we learn how to drive, if I train you how to drive the forklift, we're going to go through steps 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. When we go through step 1, you will repeat step 1 back to me before I go to step 2. When we go to step 2, you will repeat step 1 and 2 back to me before we go to step 3. When we go to step 3, we stick to the objective. We're not going to talk about the game last night. I know that you're a big fan of the Ravens, but we're not going to talk about that. All right. I mean, I know my team's the Raiders. They stink. We're not going to talk about that either. Okay. We're going to stick to the objective. Okay. So if you had a paycheck problem, we're not going to stop in the middle, start talking about your paycheck problem we're going to stick to the objective. Okay. Test commitment. Test commitment stands for, is Jay committed to this exercise? Is Jay, and Jay needs to articulate to me that by taking me through what we just learned, that he understands it. And it may look like if I'm training you on a forklift, it may look like, okay, Jay, so now you're going to train me. Okay. I just trained you. Now train me on steps 1 through 6. Right. Train me on steps 7 through 10. Right. And so test commitment it permeates every skill set, whether it's the 4x5 method. Be clear, expect the best, always accentuate positives with employees, always use motivational feedback. in order to engage an employee, right? There's formative feedback. It forms something. There's motivational feedback. It enhances self-esteem. Those things are real. There's nothing copybook about that. If I'm coming at you and I say, hey, Jay, you've done a really amazing job with X, Y, or Z. I appreciate what you do. You're a great team member. As a matter of fact, Sarah and Ron were talking the other day about how you help them through X, Y, and Z. Okay, your mind starts to open up to however, Jay, I want to talk about X, Y, or Z. I think you can be a little better than you are on it. Okay, your mind opens up because I'm not attacking you, right? All right, so those techniques, the best principle, be specific, expect the best, stick to objective, test commitment, all these other things fit into it, right? Mm-hmm. So think of it, and then finally I'll say it like this. You come to my professional driving school to learn how to drive through an oil slick so that when you see one on the real freeway, you don't crash, right? Because you saw that happen a couple of times. So you come to me and say, Jay, I'm going to train you how to get through oil slick. And we go through it 20 times. By the 20th time, you're getting through it, right? Because I'm using the 7 steps of training to teach you how to do it, number one, okay? So the point of practice, and you mentioned this earlier, is that if you use the best principle in the 4x5 method and you practice, when it happens to you in the real world, you don't get blown away. Okay, you're able to stand there and maintain your confidence, right? Because the number one reason new leaders derail is confidence is lost.
Yeah. You're absolutely right. With Noel Massie here and on a new direction and awesome work. Noel, we're at the end. We've done an hour. By the way,
yeah, we did pretty good.
Yeah, we did pretty good here. We've done an entire hour.
Yeah, we did pretty good. We didn't get interrupted for a whole hour, but anyway.
Yeah, but I could have done another. I could have done another hour with you. I'm just telling you that right now. I could have done another hour. This has been so much fun. I have enjoyed you immensely. I know my listeners have too. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Tell people how they can get a hold of you, Noel.
NoelMassie.com is the fastest way.
Okay.
My assistant there's a contact sheet. Fill it out. My assistant, Kayla Bozeman. You can reach Kayla, Kaylah, at NoelMassie.com. She'll respond immediately. If you buy 100 books, we'll do a free seminar for you. Okay. If you buy 50 books, we'll do a free seminar online for you. Okay. That stuff's all there. And I appreciate the time with you today, Jay.
I appreciate you. I'm going to write that all up in the blog post for this show, by the way. So I'm going to put Kaylah, Kaylah, at NoelMassie.com. Reach out to her. And I'm also going to put down, if you buy 100 books, do a free seminar. If it's 50 books, do a free webinar. Yep. Is that correct? I'll put that in.
Correct. That's accurate. Yes.
I'll put that in the notes. Well, I'm just trying to be specific and clear here. Noel,
I love it. I guess I did a good job teaching.
And then I'm testing commitment here at the end. That's what
That's awesome. That's amazing. That's great. It's great. Yes, it's good.
So awesome. Noel, stay with me. Hey, folks, this is a show, I say to you every week, you're in control of 3 things: your attitude, your effort, and your resiliency. Life doesn't always give us what we want, and sometimes we find ourselves in circumstances we didn't ask for. But the fact of the matter is you can control your attitude. It's not always easy. But your attitude is well within your control. Take control of it today. Okay. Your effort is tied to your excellence. I know we don't always have the same amount of energy in the tank, but what you do have, can you be excellent with it? That's up to you. Control your effort, be excellent. And finally, we all get punched in the mouth or punched in the gut and get knocked down, but it's up to you to get back up. Why? Because you're worth it, and we want you on the team. I'll be back next time with another great guest, another great book. And as I tell you all over the world, you've had a lot of choices. Thank you. Give us a thumbs up on YouTube, wherever you're listening to this show or watching the show. You know what? Why not write us a positive 5-star review? We'd appreciate it. As I say to you all over the world, so grateful, so thankful. And that is this. Ciao, everybody.